We're live! This is an odd time to be doing a critique community. I think most people that would be tuning in are not expecting us to look at photographs.
Because it's so late?
Because it's so late.
We usually do this much earlier?
We usually do the critiques early and the coronavirus journals late, but we haven't done a coronavirus journal in a while.
I know, and I feel like a lot of crazy stuff has happened with coronavirus. We won't get into it now. I don't know how much longer we can keep doing the coronavirus thing, but we'll see.
I don't know how much longer we're going to keep doing this thing. I feel like there's like about a 30-day countdown now before, like, we're definitely out of here by Thanksgiving. And
Yep.
I don't know when that is, the 25th or something?
Somewhere around there.
Somewhere around there. So it's like,
all of this has to be dismantled. You purchased a house here, but the house needs to be like gutted.
not gutted. I mean, it needs, I want to put new tile down. I want to put modern, normal, like clean tile.
New floors,
And
new
then
kitchen,
I want to redo the kitchen.
new windows.
Yeah, but the windows, I'm going to order those from China. I'm having to buy windows that are shipped in these containers that are 5 times more expensive than they've ever been.
But it's still cheaper.
Still cheaper, but there's a group buy. So it's like if like 10 people in this neighborhood all go in on a container, maybe the windows I need are like 10% of the container, and so it won't be that expensive. I mean, it's thousands of dollars, but I just look at it in my mind as like, I'm going to sell this house down the road. I should go ahead and get it as normal as possible. So 1, I can enjoy it, and then 2, when I go to sell it, hopefully the next person that buys my house is going to say, wow, this is like so much better than all the other homes that I've looked at.
It's normal.
It's just normal.
Yeah.
So yeah, we have to get this place packed up, start putting stuff in, I guess, my house. And I don't know if you're selling stuff. There's a lot of conversations we need to have about like what your plan is.
I know.
We have like cars, we have boat ownerships, we have all this gear and all of these TV. Like, I hope to set all of this up in my studio in the house. I'm going to convert the garage, which is about the same size as this. I mean, this is a 2-car garage behind us with a 3rd car over there. So I think we'll have room for this, but there's just a lot of little steps to do to get there. And
Yes, there is.
It's Puerto Rico during a pandemic when real estate is all-time high, contractors are at an all-time high charging, and then they're also working at an all-time low. It's just like the perfect storm of stuff I don't want to do. But in the meantime, though, I just got married. Just had the wedding.
Congratulations, yeah.
And we are doing wedding photos today. So
Did you sneak any of your photos in this from your wedding?
I'll have to wait and see.
Oh, that sounds
There's
like you
no
did.
sneaking when you know the couple. It's like,
Yeah. But like, obviously they weren't submitted,
no.
but
no.
you could have snuck them in.
Do we have another critique?
Yeah, so I did smartphone photography. You can go to fstoppers.com/contests right now. If you're watching on fstoppers, you can click on the YouTube link and come on over to YouTube and join the live chat.
Smartphones. How smart does it have to be?
I mean, it can be any phone. You can do the Razer flip phone for all I care, but I'm curious in seeing professional-looking images from a smartphone. So that's the next critique. Head over to fstoppers.com/contest to submit your best smartphone pictures now. Are you ready to get to this one?
I am. We need to pick a winner between 1 and 10.
10.
Number 10.
Yeah.
All right. Number 10 wins. And number 1 wins. This is the highest rated image from the critique.
Let's go full screen on this bad boy.
Now, this critique was called like exciting wedding photos. And there were a lot of images, including like 1 or 2 in this critique that are not really exciting, but they were ranked really high. Mm-hmm. And I feel like
you didn't want just like pretty bridal portrait. You wanted some
Right.
action going on, right?
Right. And so these are all supposed to be high energy, hero shots, excitement, reception. They could be posed situations, like this picture here looks like this was a pre-set-up shot, but it has some interest and some action in it. But overall, I just say this to warn people that some of these photos are not as exciting as you would think. One of our audio levels is really bad.
I think it's okay. Well, are you ready to rate this one?
I think so.
So we'll go here and here. I'm going to Go 3, 2, 1. I'm in between a 3 and a 4 on this. Like, this is the debate that always happens with this. I rate wedding photos a little bit more leniently because they are real people. If you're doing any type of commercial photography, you should have the best looking models in your photos, right?
Right.
But with weddings, people want to see real life human beings. They don't want to see some model that you paid to be in the photo. So for that reason, you know, like if this was a commercial image for De Beers diamonds or whatever, I would be like, you know, the couple and the pose and everything could be a little bit better. But for a real wedding, I think this is great.
I agree. I think this belongs in your portfolio. It's a solid 3 image. I'm kind of at a loss of words on why this doesn't get pushed up to a 4 for me. It's also hard to critique like real people because I don't know what I can and can't say. And maybe we'll see this. I don't know. I was going to put one of the pictures that from my wedding that I saw in my sneak preview. I mean, we just got married a week ago, so I don't expect all my pictures to be done. But one of the pictures I did not put in here is a picture of me where like my body language looks weird, right? I mean, you know me, like I'm always hunched over and everything. And I'm like, it's a beautiful picture, but I feel like this image kind of suffers from that. The guy, if I zoom in here, I don't want to say it looks like he's struggling. It's just like something with the lines. I mean, his jacket and his posture and
To be perfectly honest, I'm going to change to a 3. I couldn't really see this from across the room, and now I see it bigger, and I agree. The pose just feels kind of awkward to me. It doesn't feel...
It's like she's kind of flying, and then he's kind of like, oh, let me try to hold you up. And the difference between this and a 4 could just be like literally a few frames later, you know? It's like he's spinning with her and they're laughing and you see his face, or he takes a step back and puts some weight on the other leg. It's like such a minute thing, but there's something just about his stance that I can't not see.
I totally agree with you. Interesting thing, Michael Carter took this and he said they wanted a snowy picture, but there was no snow on the ground, and 10 minutes before they had to head to the reception, the clouds opened up and they were able to get the shot.
Fresh snow.
Yeah, so that's kind of cool.
That's the thing with wedding photos, though, is like the stories behind them and what you were capable of doing in the moment.
Yeah.
Is so much more valuable in this genre than it is with other genres of photography. If you have a blank slate and you go in the studio, I expect that you do come up with an awesome concept and the perfect model and the perfect expression and the hair and the makeup. Like, all that's kind of on you because you're there crafting it. But when you have to go out and just, I mean, that's what I love about wedding photography, is you have to go out and take so many types of photos with such crazy constraints on them that even though you and I might sit here and say it's only a 3, the talent that this photographer has to pull that off over and over and over again makes it, I think, the hardest genre of photography to shoot. You have to be as well-rounded of a photographer shooting weddings as true. Any genre
That's
out there.
Absolutely true. The thing is, I just recently have gotten a lot more into editing raw files, and rather than...
As opposed to just...
Well, okay, let me...
Picking and choosing JPEGs?
Well, yes, I did do a lot of that, but I guess my point is I've gotten recently into really pushing and pulling raw files, whereas in the past... I don't think cameras have the same latitude, but also, like, I would try to get everything right in camera and maybe just do the littlest changes. But now, in situations where I would show up with an assistant with a big-ass light and I'm lighting them up, now I'm just shooting them black with a correctly exposed background, and then you just come into Lightroom and, like, recover everything on the face. So... You know, I agree with you that you need to be the most well-rounded type of photographer to be a wedding photographer, but I also have to say, once you kind of learn some basic editing stuff, these cameras are so good now, you can kind of just walk around shooting on auto and then just pull everything back, fix all the mistakes in post. So times are changing.
Well, this is the winner of the highest rated award, and they get a free tutorial. You can head over to fstoppers.com/store to pick that out.
Yeah, to pick it out, and then send me a private message on F-Stoppers and let me know which tutorial you want, and I'll send it to you.
Let's head to image number 2. This is kind of more what I had in mind, just like crazy action. And
this is definitely some action. Like, what the hell? Like,
who agreed to this?
I know. It's like, hey, now's the time we're going to see how many people we can jump across at this wedding.
So there's a guy in Charleston who used to come to a lot of weddings, and his name is just on the tip of my tongue, but he would dress up as Superman, and he was also in that like American Ninja show. And he would do this stunt where he would jump over people and do a backflip and then land. And it's just such a high risk thing to do at a wedding. But he does it everywhere. But he would show up at weddings as like a break dancer, and then he would jump and do this flip. But it kind of reminds me of this. But it's different when you have somebody hired to be at the wedding to do this crazy stunt versus this kind of looks just like a groomsman or somebody at the wedding who took the jacket off, and you're just like, all right, John.
Yeah, Manning Avenue took this, and he says, this is the groom jumping over the groomsman on the dance floor. Are you ready to rate this? We can go full screen real quick so people can see it. I'll just go ahead and say, this is a fantastic image. Obviously, he caught this guy at the peak of the action. It's got really nice lighting going on. You're capturing everybody's reaction. Like, what an amazing photo for the couple to have. But the question is, does this belong in your portfolio? Are you ready to rate this? 3, 2, 1.
I'm going to say it does.
3 stars. I'm going to maybe say it does. So here's the thing.
Well, by definition.
Like, well, I don't know. I think it's certainly good enough to be in your portfolio, just like the last
it's
shot.
It's a 3. It definitely should be delivered to the client.
Oh,
100%.
No doubt. No doubt. Yeah.
But you're saying this may not quite.
This just doesn't look like a high-end wedding to me. Like, this just looks like everybody's dressed pretty sloppy. It just looks low-end. And if you're trying to be the wedding photographer that's, making the big bucks, I don't think you're going to attract wealthy clients with fancy weddings with pictures like this where, the dude's wearing like jeans on the floor. And if you're trying to, book the weddings that are hundreds of thousands of dollars and they're going to pay you $5,000, $10,000, $15,000, $20,000 to photograph it, I think they're going to be turned off by jeans at a wedding. They're just going to immediately be like, oh, this is the cheap guy. Like, we're looking for the high-end luxury guy. This is certainly not it.
I could definitely see that. The first thing my eye goes to are these like work lamps that are all over the venue, and I'm like, what kind of venue has fluorescent tube work lamps? It almost looks like you got married in a really interesting place. Like,
just, my wedding looked way worse than that. Yeah, that's true.
It just looks like an outdoor gazebo that has some lamps and stuff. But pretty good lighting, great action. It's one of those images that you can sit there and read for a while. Like I find myself looking at all the people. But then you're right. Once you look at everybody, you start to say it almost feels like a family reunion as opposed to like a high-end wedding.
Yeah.
And then that's not the vibe you want to give a high-end wedding client. But, for my portfolio, this would have been in my portfolio for the first couple of years.
Yeah, for sure.
Until I got better images that looked more expensive and looked like I was, being hired by brides with a larger budget. And then this image would get replaced with something that looked a little higher end.
Yep.
All right, next image. So here we're getting into cool submissions that were rated fairly well, but I don't know if action-packed is like the theme. You know what I mean?
Well, to be fair, they are active by laying on the floor. It's not like exciting, but it's certainly not just a standard portrait. Right. So I can let this one slide a little bit. Yeah, what do I think about this? I don't know. I might be a little Debbie Downer when it comes to wedding photography too, so I might be a little out of touch at this point. 3, 2, 1.
Really? I'm going to put this as the highest.
This is your favorite?
Now, okay, so I just hired a wedding photographer, went through the whole process.
Yep.
You hired like a friend of ours who's a wedding photographer, and then you had a bunch of people shoot your wedding. So like we had different experiences.
Yeah.
Let me just approach this from what I just dealt with.
Okay.
As I'm going through wedding photographers in Miami, I like to see stuff like this, and I gave this a 4 because I think it's kind of cool. It's graphic. It's well composite. You know, the composition's great. It looks almost like 3D. It looks like an advertising image or something. It's not. It's a real couple, but it has elements of it where it tells me that this photographer is capable of thinking outside the box, taking risks. They want to work hard at your wedding, and they're going to find something like this that is a really crazy angle. I'm not exactly sure how they shot this.
Yeah, I wonder if this was done with a drone. It just seems too difficult to be that over top of them.
And so I see this image, and while I'm not blown away thinking like this is the image that represents my wedding, this tells me that the photographer is kind of an artist, and they are capable of coming up with really symmetric, higher level type of shots. All that being said, when I was looking to hire my photographer, I was looking at the like everyday shots. I wanted to see how did the natural light shots in the bridal suite look? How did the groomsmen pose shots look? Images that were not like flashy or crazy. It was just like the shots I know they have to take. Are they lit or airy or are they moody? And so like this image isn't one that I feel like I'm going to stop and be like, wow, what an amazing photographer. But I do want to see stuff like this mixed in so that I know that, oh, if we do have some time, they're excited to take images that are a little bit more, you know, planned out. If that makes sense.
Yeah. Michael Rochtashell took this, and his English isn't great. I don't fully understand what he's saying. I think what he's saying is that he saw this ground and wanted to take this photo, but he couldn't do it at a real wedding, so he pitched this idea to a couple after their wedding. I think that's what he's saying. It's not totally clear.
So now he had plenty of time and a lot of
the girl can wreck the dress and not care. That's the other thing. I was like, man, the floor looks kind of dirty.
There's no way Kristen was laying on the ground.
Yeah, she had too much invested in that dress. I could be out of line here. I just feel like a lot of these top-down photos and stuff, it's just cheesy. Like when I think about wedding photography, I think about like classic, timeless. I think about my grandkids seeing it, you know, and I do want them to see me. I don't want to be posing and look like I'm a supermodel in every picture. I want them to see me smiling and having a good time with friends and family and stuff. But like laying on the ground, posing like I'm Peter Pan, like I don't know if that is what I want my grandkids to see. So this type of thing kind of turns me off to wedding photography.
If they were more statuesque, just straight looking up and like kind of like this is the way I looked on, you know, like people do, I know like Aliyah does this a lot. Like they do top-down images of them with all their gear around them, you know?
Yeah.
If it was just like documented, like that's what I wore on the wedding dress, or the wedding day, and then that's the dress I wore on my wedding day, and we're just like, almost like a trading card. Would you like that more than this like interaction? It says something about Sistine Chapel. Maybe somebody else left a comment about that. It kind of feels like, you know, like God's poking fun or like talking to his bride or groom. You know what I mean? Like it does kind of have that feel. Court jester sort of playing card, all of the the symbolism.
Oh, okay. Yeah, I am seeing the playing card vibe going on.
Which kind of makes it a little cheesier.
Even cheesier. Yeah, it's just not for me. But don't take that the wrong way. I think a lot of clients might love this sort of thing. I just, you know.
I mean,
like,
I gave this the highest rating. I think if
Yeah.
you're flipping through their blog or their photo, you know, their album, and you see this, it's just different enough to where you're like, oh, that's really cool. Tell me about that story. I don't know that we're going to do that, but like, man, our photographer will go over and beyond.
I do agree with that. It certainly shows that they're thinking and they're willing to do more than just take your average boring shot.
All right.
And maybe I'm just looking for average boring shots.
Probably.
Next up. This does not look exciting at all. This
Yes.
looks like a boring portrait.
I believe
Why
this-
did you let that in?
I believe this was the second highest rated image. And it's just hard to not include some of the best images from the community, but I was torn. I was like, does this even deserve to go in there? But
this is my favorite image. Is the crop weird? Do we need all that white space up there?
I don't know if it's the crop. I don't know what I can do here.
Like that. That's better, right?
Or if it's the positioning of the camera. Like, could they have...
I like them with the dark background back there. I mean, they have that beautiful halo around them from that, backlight. I think it looks
I'm just wondering if you
nice.
could stand a little taller
Like, that's better. That's better.
and just completely get all of the frame to be... I can't crop vertically with this horizontal thing, but... if you could stand a little taller, which not all of us can do that. If you could get up just like an extra foot or two, your background would suddenly be way above their heads. You're shooting down a little bit more in the background. You could keep a very tall frame like this, but just have more density behind them, foliage behind them. Or you could do what you're doing, just try to crop in tighter on the actual photo taken.
We got Andy talking trash in the comments. Who wants to see their grandparents' wedding photos? I mean, I don't know. I kind of agree. I trust me, I don't like looking at my grandparents' photo albums, but it is cool occasionally to see what they look like when they were my age or younger. Because sometimes old people, they just kind of feel like that's how they always were, And then you see them when they were young, and you're like, oh my gosh.
It scares me to death. I get freaked out by it.
Yeah?
Because I know that's our future.
Yeah, that's coming.
Like, we're going to be the people with diabetes sitting in a chair watching TV and we're like a strain on the family.
Yeah.
And then they're going to be like, dude, he was riding a skateboard around. Like, look what he did on the YouTube channel. And,
Yeah.
And it's like, man, like that's coming for all of us. It freaks me out a little bit. But this is the interesting thing with the grandparents argument. Francisco is saying this. This is the first time in history where... Are there even, I guess there are grandparents who have had modern photography, but probably not many. Like, we're going to be the first generation, or maybe like the generation that's a little bit older than us. Like if you're like 40 or 50 years old right now, that's the first generation where their whole lives have been documented in the digital age. Like, my parents have 7 images from their wedding.
Yeah.
It's the one up there by the, in the middle of the church.
Yeah.
And then there might be some snapshots of them getting in their car to leave, something, But there's not a whole lot. There's not videography. There's not a lot of normal-looking color photography. It's all faded and weird.
Yeah.
We now live in an age where, like, our kids and our grandkids, they're going to see everything we did. And that's even, like, more weird because maybe they would enjoy that. If I could see, like, high-quality imagery and video of my parents at my age or younger... I mean, it's my parents.
I think you'd like to see it because it's novel right now,
Yeah.
but I was watching some Norm Macdonald stand-up, and he was like, how he was talking about having a couple really cool young images of your grandparents when they're young, and you're like, you want to see a photo of my grandparents when they were 20 years old? This is what they look like when they got married, whatever. And he's like, but our kids are going to say, you want to see 100,000 photos of my parents? You want to see what they ate for every meal of every day of their lives, And I'm like, yeah, that's true. I think our kids, my son, if he goes and looks on my YouTube channel, he'll probably watch 30 seconds of one video and be like, screw that, I'm not watching any more of that.
But it's weird, right? Like, if I could see years of my dad doing, like, my dad's a dentist. That's not a fun profession to watch. But if my dad was putting out content like we have done for the majority of our careers, would I mean, maybe I'd watch a video a week and be like, let's check out what he did. Like, I think that'd be kind of cool.
Well, I mean, we'll see. We'll see what my
But
son
if you have an
in.
Instagram where it's just like food all day, like, no, that's not going to be exciting. But all right, we haven't rated this one yet.
Let's rate it.
All right, 3, 2, 1.
I'm going a little rough with the 3 just because I feel like the crop feels a little strange to me, but I think it's beautiful and timeless. But really, we should be giving this 0 because this didn't follow the directions at all This
Yeah.
should not be in the critique.
But it is. I mean, if I receive this image back, I would be, maybe I would be a little bummed about that sky and that crop. Now that I think about it,
I mean, I don't know. You need to be bummed about it. You can just crop in.
you can, but I would just, I don't know. I mean, that does look way better. But it's a nice photo. I'd be
Yeah.
happy with this tone.
I dig it.
This is a style that I definitely do not shoot at all. This kind of like muted, very like low key.
Vince P asked, "Did you guys order the new MacBook Pro?" I did order one. Did you watch the video I made about it?
I did, but I am so not interested in like. I'm
Moving
not
to
interested.
macOS.
I'm not interested in most tech.
Yeah, you're just over
Everything's
it.
so. I'm like everything does.
Did you see the new DJI camera that came out today? It's the not that one.
Okay.
Oh, can't talk about that one. It's the Osmo 4D.
Okay.
It's crazy. It's a cinema camera, right? Full frame cinema camera.
like cinema camera.
It's 8K, and it has the gimbal built into the camera. So, like the back part of the camera is like a box, like a cinema camera. And then there's a gimbal on it with a Z-axis. So you know how the Steadicam vest has the arm?
Yeah.
It has a frame sensor and a lens and everything. And then it's got a wire that runs back to the back where all the processing is done.
So it's you always have that.
You have to keep it attached to that whole system, and it's kind of a crazy looking big contraption, but it has autofocus, it has autofocus plus focus pulling.
Assist or pulling, yeah.
It's built in to this system, and so it can be autofocusing and you can be manually helping it at the same time. It can do both. And then the screen on it is wireless, and you can leave it attached to the camera and use it, or you can buy as many screens as you want, and they're all wireless, 1080 huge. You can move the controller for the focus to that screen. Uh-oh, are we losing internet here? And you can change all the camera settings from these wireless screens, and you can buy as many screens as you want.
And you can set like limits on who has control over what.
I think so.
You say you're the focus puller, and you're going to control like the
think so.
exposure and like.
It looks so.
How much is this
freaking
camera?
cool. So I think the 8K one is like 12 grand, and then there's a 6K one for like 7 grand. And 7 grand, like that's not so bad when you think it's competing with, like the new Red that just came out. I think it's like 35,000, 25,000, 35,000, something like that. The downside is, and I was reading a little bit about it online. I need to learn more. It's huge.
It's big.
But it works best with DJI lenses, which are these little bitty prime lenses that are weird. And then it only works in
certain weight
balances. Yeah, because there's no balancing anymore.
Yeah.
You just put it on and it works,
Yep.
which is nice. There's no fiddling with stuff. But
so the gimbal and everything calibrates, and like there's no like tweaking, and that's nice.
yeah. So I mean, it's just exciting that they're doing something that's so different.
I wonder, like, I'm getting so over tech. Like, I don't care about the iPhone 13. I don't care about the new MacBook. I mean, I care in the sense it's funny that they're going back to all of the things that they, like, left. And I think a lot of us photographers and professionals are like, yes, they like, gave us what we wanted, you know?
Yeah.
But I wonder, like, right now, my mind is all about content. I want to know, what are you going to do with that camera to produce something that we've never seen before? But we're seeing such crazy stuff now, especially with all these little reels, YouTube Reels or TikTok. You just watch the most entertaining, crazy, addictive stuff. Part of me wonders, are we as a society going to get over that? Where we're just like, it felt so good to go on our honeymoon and do nothing, to completely tune out of almost everything.
You don't feel like that's your life every day? You're
What?
not tuned out and you do nothing every day?
No, most days I'm going through Twitter and I'm trying to see like what's happening, and I'm reading news and I'm like watching videos, and I'm cramming as much stuff into my day as I possibly can. And then there's times where I go over to the house and I like renovate or clean up, or I do like manual labor, and that's kind of like a relief. I do enjoy that. But to go on the honeymoon and just like take in the ocean and to like talk to people and to sit and just let the sun hit my body with no worry in the world, Like the worry was, what's the dinner tonight? You know.
Sure.
It was so nice. I just wonder, like, where I am now with tech, where I'm just like, man, all this stuff does like, we're streaming live, like it does it so well that I'm like losing interest in it. At what point do I lose interest in the next thing, which is, what is the content and what are you doing? What are you putting in front of that tech to make that interesting? And I feel like TikTok is kind of destroying the world for me to some degree. I'm not on TikTok, but I see enough of it to where I'm like, oh, the greatest guitar players. Oh, look, somebody pulled the craziest prank on their girlfriend. Oh, look, somebody's like, you know, doing monster trucks with their car. Like it's all so over the top that like.
And it's so instant and just endless. You can just have endless entertainment.
Look at this alligator pulled in the trainer into the water. Somebody rescued. You know, it's just every day. I'm just like, man, the news is like it's nothing shocking anymore.
Yeah.
And I just wonder, like, a generation or two of that, how far do you get to where you're just numb to everything?
It's true.
That's maybe too deep of a
Yeah,
conversation.
we're
for
really
for
getting a little dark now.
critique, but so DJI, I'll have to look that one up. All right, next image. Here we go.
All right, we got a little movement going on here.
This type of photography reminds me of Pi Jirza.
Yeah.
This is like what Lennon Jirza does a lot of like.
What type of lens do you think this is?
What do you mean? Like millimeter?
Yeah.
It feels like 24 or wider. I mean, a full frame.
It feels wider to me than 24, but I don't know if that's true. I feel like as a photographer, I have always failed to use
the wide
a
angle.
wide angle lens. Yeah, I always felt like it was warping out people's heads and stuff because I had to get so close to them. And so I just never would use it, ever. Are we back?
Hopefully.
It says excellent connection.
Excellent. We are back. Don't know what happened there.
I don't know what's going on. I feel like the last 2 or 3 streams we've had, our board has failed us.
You think it's the board? I mean, that's what I just reset and it
Yeah.
started. But we've also been having some crazy internet thing going on. We had like a lightning strike today, and then
Yeah.
people have been complaining that the internet's not
Did
working
you hear
well
that
here.
thunder? Was it yesterday?
This
morning?
morning, yeah, it's. I mean, somebody said they had a switch blow up on them.
Yeah.
Just down the street. All right, so I was just saying that this feels very modern, and you were saying how difficult it is to shoot with an ultra wide or
Yeah.
even just the wider end of a.
Yeah.
Somebody says, where's the comment? 24 millimeters is for fun, and 50 millimeters is for photography.
Somebody write that.
50 can still be pretty wide. You know, you start shooting like portraits or headshots and stuff. And
Yeah.
50 can look a little strange at times.
You know what's so weird? It's really not that weird. It's kind of boring. I don't even know why I'm about to say this, but
I think I know what you're about to say.
I don't. You do not. The iPhone's main camera is like 24 millimeters, maybe 27, something like that.
Yep.
Which is really wide. Like I almost never take portraits of people at 24.
Yeah.
But with the new iPhone, the telephoto is like 75 millimeters, somewhere in there. And it feels so tight on my phone.
Yeah.
I'm always having to back up, and it must just be some psychological thing where when I'm on a pro camera, I want to back up away. I'm ready to zoom in. I'm ready to, get that compression. But then with my cell phone, every time I switch over to that telephoto lens, it's like cropping people like this. I'm like, damn, okay, I guess I got to back way up to get this shot. I don't know.
Do you think that's the same psychological thing that happens with medium format? Everyone's always like, medium format's got a certain
It's got
look.
that look.
But it's just like the distance that you shoot at.
Yeah.
Because like Peter Hurley used to shoot much wider with his headshots on medium format.
I've had this debate with Peter where I think his previous images looked better than his current images, and he used to shoot on medium format, and I'm not a pixel peeper, but he used to get really close to his subjects, and there was just a little bit of warping on their face. Kind of like, who's that famous photographer? Yeah, there's a...
Not that crazy, though.
Not that crazy. Just a little bit. But recently, or in the last 5 years, he moved to Canon and he shoots at like 100 and something millimeters, and he's really far away now.
Yeah.
And I just feel like he's lost some of that intimacy that was in his portraits before.
Yeah.
And
We used to debate with him because he was like, I shoot with an 80, was it an 85 or 82?
I don't remember.
It was some kind of, whatever that medium format lens is.
But it was like a 50.
It was like closer to a 50, and now he's shooting at almost double the focal length
Yeah,
as an equivalent, and it
Yeah.
definitely changes the aesthetic.
yeah, but he didn't seem to notice.
Do you feel like this image has any, getting back to this, is anything in here distorted beyond like what, I mean,
No.
maybe a lot of the distortion's happening towards the bottom and the corners of the frame where,
Yeah, I think it looks really good, and I don't know. I think it looks great. I mean, maybe my biggest problem with this is all those wires in the sky, but I don't know. Maybe that's fine. Did we rate this?
I gave it a 3, I think, and you gave it a 4?
Did I?
I think
don't
so.
know. All right.
My whole thing is just I feel like I don't like her expression. It feels a little fake and a little like posy. It's like when you're cutting the cake at your wedding and you look at the photographer.
Yeah,
You know,
I do agree with that. This was
I
taken
wish-
by Jia Fu Yu. He says, this shot only took me 2 minutes to set up. That day was such a rush because they were running out of time, but we still made it. The result was impressive, and the clients loved it too. What's up with that shadow on her face? Zoom into that. There's like a blob on her face.
The top or her nose? Her forehead or her?
No, her cheek. Like, look up on
Sorry,
this
I'm
one.
sorry. Like
Like
what I'm
right
seeing
here,
here
it
is,
just looks like like
Oh.
this blob on her cheek.
I see what you're saying. Her cheek looks like.
Not human. I don't know. All right, let's move on.
Another image that's super interesting, I think, but I don't know if it really fits the theme of like.
But you
Exciting.
brought it.
Man,
you-
there was only like 80, maybe not even 80. There was like 60 pictures submitted to this.
You know what's some bullshit too? Is that you've already gotten a picture from this guy. He did the pose on the floor, and it's Michael again.
Okay.
So you got 2 photos that
This
are
was
not.
this was hard pickings on this critique.
What was that?
I like this one better than his other one. I keep trying to figure out what's happening in this.
I know. I was like, oh, it's a stairway, but then looking at it, I'm like,
I think
But-
it is a stairway, no?
it has to be, but it's just kind of hard to tell what's going on. All right. Maybe I should go full screen for a second.
This would be like if Elon Musk hired a photographer. It would be this guy. It would have to have this look to it.
Are we ready?
Yep.
3, 2, 1.
Between a 3 and a 4. This.
I'm gonna go 4 on this. I feel like this is awesome. It's graphic. It's timeless.
I'm with you. Like I was between a 3 and a 4. This really is like.
But we should give it 0, and we should not,
So like yeah, like this
allow
is the
these people
this
to
is the
cheat.
this is the handrail, and he's
Yeah.
shooting from a few levels up down, but like just all the tonality. Like I'd love to see what this looks like straight out of the camera, like what the raw file look like, because the tonality and the grays here is just perfect. The tile is perfect.
There's like a bug on that top tile. You see that?
What? Oh yeah, that didn't get cloned out, but
Huh?
there's also something weird going on way up here. That's like another tile. Maybe that's the landing of the next like level. But pretty cool looking image.
All right. Next up.
When you talk about timeless photography and your grandkids looking at your images, like this is not necessarily timeless, but it's interesting and it's exciting and it captures kind of the theme of this, exciting wedding theme that I came up with. Do you think you can look at this and appreciate it, or do you feel like, man, there's like a cheese factor here and it's a lighting thing and it's so over the top and Where do you fall with an image like this?
Can I be real with you, Patrick? Can I be real right now?
Keep being fake like you've always been.
Okay, I love it. No, I think it's a good photo. I think I might kind of have a problem with wedding photography in general.
What do you mean?
I've been thinking about making a YouTube video about this, and like I think I'm just a jaded Debbie Downer.
You're an old man now.
Because I did it for so long. But I think so many people get so riled up about planning their wedding and every little detail and, oh my gosh, I've got to look so great in my wedding and I want the pictures to turn out like this and that and everybody has to love it and they've got to impress everyone. And
Are
it's
you just
like,
imitating me?
yes. And I just feel like gives a shit about a picture like this, you know? And it's cool. I'm not ragging on the photographer right now. I'm not ragging on this couple or anything. It's just like...
People I wanted to talk to. We froze again.
Dude, what is going on
But
here,
we are
man?
getting speed tests that are saying there's no upload, right?
Yeah. It's
So-
like our board is messed up. But see how we're getting the on-air flashing?
Yeah.
I think that means that it's not sending. But now it's good. I don't know what's happening.
And what is YouTube doing right now? Like it's going to condense all this into a usable, watchable
Yeah.
video?
Yeah, I will. But
So yeah, basically all this
we're back.
all this amazing tech, it's just not exciting anymore.
Yeah, all this amazing tech.
What?
It's freezing again.
Could be the internet here. We have no upload or very little upload bandwidth. And then also the Blackmagic ATEM,
Yeah.
something like I keep resetting that and we do go live. But now what, are we frozen again?
Yeah, we're frozen again. What the heck, man? And we're back.
No, it says no data. Or are we back?
What do we do? What do we do? What do we do?
Is there a way to send this through like a phone? Just to see, can you connect to, or is that super complicated?
You can't do it because the ATEM's connected with Ethernet.
That's what we were trying to do, right? Is figure out a way to have like redundancy in our whole network to where if it has an issue, it would just connect to cell.
Yeah.
Well,
Should we just call it?
yep. Not much we can do. Ugh. So you're saying that this type of photography or whatever is just kind of